It's amazing to me how many people never read their policy and they can't explain what each line means. So I'll give you a little lesson here. The first thing you're going to notice on your policy, obviously premium, but then you got to break down what makes up that premium. The majority, what makes it up primarily is the dwelling coverage A. And that means how much it would cost to rebuild your home in today's market.
Welcome to the Carolina Senior Talk Podcast, your trusted source for all things related to senior living in the Carolinas. In each episode, we'll guide you through the best locations, offer advice on buying a home, and share tips on relocating within this beautiful region. Whether you're exploring new senior communities, considering a move, or looking to invest in your current dream home, we've got you covered. So sit back, relax, and get ready to discover everything you need to know about senior living in the Carolinas. Well, hello, everybody. Once again, it's Dave Edwards, and welcome to podcast number 8. Podcast number 8 of what? Well, Carolina Senior Talk, where all things senior are discussed. And today we're discussing a particular issue that you would think might be kind of vanilla. You know, you get a car, you get insurance. You buy a home, you get insurance. But nobody ever talks about insurance as it relates to those of us that are over 60 and how it might be important, because we have some unique situations, okay? We have health, we have financial status, we have lifestyle, all these come into play. And so we're going to talk about some of these issues. And today's conversation is going to be hosted by none other than Kim Coleman with Fogle Insurance here in Huntersville. Kim, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Dave, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Hope you are. You better
Yes,
be,
sir.
because we're going to have a good conversation. So,
Yes, we have.
but Kim is obviously in the business of doing insurance, just as I'm in the business of doing real estate. But she's worked with a lot of seniors in her professional career. But before we get into that, I want to ask a couple questions of Kim. Let's talk
Sure.
about you. Where are you from?
I grew up in North Wilkesboro, which is about 45 minutes away from here, if you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
You know, it's a home of NASCAR and moonshine.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's where I'm from.
I just had a recent conversation with somebody about the history of whiskey in the North Carolinas, and it just needs to be stronger. You know, you think about whiskey and you think about Kentucky, and it's like people need to be thinking about North Carolina. You know, it's
Oh, honey, let me tell
very
you.
prevalent.
Yeah, my granddad ran moonshine with Junior Johnson
Oh, no kidding.
to get away from the revenuers. Yes. Yes. So there's stories there
It was
but we
more
don't
than
have
a
time
tire
for that.
changer, right?
Yes.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. And where do you live now?
I live in Mooresville.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So I always like to ask this question for those that might be listening. They may not be familiar with the areas, but Mooresville, if you had to give a restaurant that might be your favorite place to go to, what would that be?
In Mooresville?
Yeah.
Oh goodness. Let me see. So because I usually go to the restaurants that are down here in Davidson.
Well, what do you like in
And
Davidson?
oh, Kindred.
Absolutely, Kindred. Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
Kindred. That's where you go. They have the best. Oh, I know I'm gonna mess this up. Duck fried duck fried French fries in the
French
duck
fries.
grease or
Yes. Yep.
duck fat, because
Duck fat.
grease you
There we
don't say
go.
at a fine
Oh,
restaurant,
that
right?
sounds so appealing, Kim. Don't write their menus for them.
No.
But it is delish. Mary and I, my wife and I, have been there, and it is an absolute wonderful spot. That might be a special place to go for our anniversary or birthday, or who knows, you know. Oh, my goodness. What have you done prior to this professionally?
So before working in personal lines insurance, which is what I'm in now, home, auto, and toys, I worked in Medicare insurance for over 2 years. I've owned several businesses myself. I've taught school. When I first started out, I was a
Awesome.
teacher. I taught K-12 theater arts, and I've toured as a comedian, clean comic.
Oh,
And so
my
I make
goodness.
insurance fun.
There's your tagline right there.
There you go.
Oh, gosh. If you need insurance, folks, this is the lady you want in your home. You will make it fun. All right. Now, in the interest of fun, okay, there's always a gauntlet that you have to pass through in order to pursue further in this conversation. And that's a trivia test.
Okay.
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 You get to pick. You can have your choice of the decades, 50s, 60s through the 90s, or you can have it by category: pop
Uh,
culture, TV, music,
let,
movies,
let's try
cars.
decade.
You want decades, eh? You
Sure.
want decades, eh? All right. Let's
I
pull
make
that
no
book in.
promises.
What decade would you like?
Let's try 70s
70s.
for 100.
This is for no. We don't go low here. This is a
Can I phone a
thousand.
friend?
This is for 1,000.
Oh, for those.
All right. The 1970s saw the rise of a new home video format. What was it called? A, DVD, B, Laserdisc, C, VHS, and D, Blu-ray.
Oh, that was Laserdisc.
You think Laserdisc, eh?
I think Laserdisc. I remember having a big Laserdisc machine. It's either that or VHS. So, but I'm sure Laserdisc was first.
I remember the battles.
Yeah.
VHS.
VHS. Do you not remember the big laser
I
discs?
do. I
That the
do.
movie that was before VHS. But okay.
I thought that was Blu-ray. I don't know. I
No,
don't remember all that stuff.
Blu-ray was much later. Now I'm talking the big giant. It
That
looked
was
like
before
an
I could afford to buy this stuff.
oh, that machine was expensive, and a suitor gave one to my sister, so that's how we had it at home.
All right. I'll give you an easy one.
Okay.
Which iconic 70s movie is known for the quote, "You talking to me"? A,
Oh gosh. Oh,
The
you're talking to
Godfather.
me? Uh,
B,
that's how it
Jaws.
goes. Oh,
C,
and
Taxi Driver.
uh-huh.
A Clockwork Orange.
What was A?
A was The Godfather.
Godfather.
B, Jaws. It had to have been the shark. C, Taxi Driver, and Clockwork Orange. When you say it's
The Godfather.
all right, drum roll. Let's see if I can find it. The answer is Taxi Driver.
What? Jeez. Okay.
All right. Well, that ends our podcast.
All right. Well, I'll just get to work now.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's fun. That's what makes it fun. Oh shoot. I tell you, my wife and I were doing these back and forth, and then we got more wrong. We got for every three, two out of the three were wrong.
Oh my.
And both of us were tied at the end of it. It was amazing.
Huh. Okay.
All right, let's get into the business aspect of this. In a nutshell, tell me about Fogle Insurance. What is it that you guys do? What do you specialize in? What are you known for?
Okay. So Fogle actually started down in Charlotte and it's over 35 years old. It was started by George Fogle Sr. And then later he brought in his kids, Sean and her brother, Doug. And when they started, they were doing mostly homes, personal lines, which are homes, autos, umbrella products, toys. Then they got into the commercial lines business where they work with a lot of businesses to provide commercial insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Then gradually they got into Medicare and employee benefits and life.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah. Then they
And
moved up to Lake Norman area, I think back in the early 2000s.
so the office is in Huntersville.
Yes,
Yeah,
exit 23.
yeah. I've been there.
Yes, you have.
Kim, what geographic areas do you serve? Do you limit yourself geographically?
We service North and South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
There are some for more personal line, more home auto and stuff and things of that nature. Sometimes we can go into other states like Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, and Virginia. Commercially, we do go into those other areas, but for the most part, we're in North and South Carolina.
Excellent. All right. So one of the things that that you and I share in common is that life events often put our businesses, our products, our services into play.
Right.
Real estate comes with, babies. It comes with death. It comes with needing to move or downsize, upsize, life events. Insurance is very
Same
much
way.
like that.
Hmm.
And I think the one issue I think that probably stands out the most when you get to be over 60 is you start to look at your budget more, and affordability becomes one of the key metrics or concerns, I think, of those of us that are seniors. And
Right, right.
so, with that in mind, how do you guys deal with the matter of affordability with your clients?
Well, it starts by our clients calling us,
Mhm.
or we're doing reviews of their policy and seeing that they're going up. And then we contact them and tell them, we want to, this is getting ready to occur. Your premium is getting ready to go up at renewal, and we want to shop your policies for you.
So if you find yourself under a fixed income, you're retired now,
Mhm.
the retirement savings are your sole source of income, maybe one of the first things you should be doing is doing a policy
Having
review.
reaching out and having your agent shop your policy. Now, you can't do that if you're with someone like Allstate or State Farm or Nationwide, because they are only one carrier. But if you're have an independent agent that represents multiple carriers, you can do that.
And that's a key distinction for you guys.
Yes, it is, because we have multiple lines, multiple carriers such as Auto Owners, Penn National, Utica, Foremost, so many that it's hard for me to name them off the top of my head. But because we have so many, we kind of know which ones are offering better premiums. Now, that's just a generalization, because when we get into the nitty gritty, we're going to have to ask specific questions about your needs.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's to
if
say you shop for your on behalf of your client would be a misrepresentation. Yes, you shop, but you're also tailoring.
Exactly. We
Yeah,
are tailoring it.
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
that's key.
And here is one thing that seniors do, not just seniors, but everybody. They will talk to their neighbor, and their neighbor will say, well, oh, I got this and this. You guys don't have, people don't have, we don't have the same circumstances going on in our lives.
Right.
So unless they're recommending, oh, try this agent because they have really great customer service, they answer their calls, you don't get a machine, you get prompt response right away, then that would be the only reason I would listen to a neighbor, is if they had a good experience with an agent.
Yeah, it's so true. Again, a direct parallel right there.
Hmm.
Okay, so another thing that begins to change as we get to be seniors is our driving habits. It's a little bit more difficult to drive at night, perhaps.
Right.
Maybe we slow down. Maybe we're not paying it as much attention, perhaps.
Hmm.
Maybe we don't acknowledge some of
Right.
the
Right. Your
decline
reflexes
in
get slower.
reflexes. So, how might you address those needs with regard to seniors? Obviously, they're still productive citizens and they drive well, relatively
Right.
speaking.
Well, the first thing I would want to know is, if I'm talking about a car, what is the year of your car,
Mm,
the make and model, because the year does make a big difference. And if you've gone out and you purchased a new car, that premium is going to be high.
mhm.
And once we start getting older, our premiums start going up. For example, if I'm working with somebody that's in their 80s, I know right away that the premium's going to be a little bit higher because of their age. And that's just one example.
Listen, it's frustrating as a consumer of
Hmm.
the service that you need, but I do recall when my children got to be driving age, all of a sudden,
Oh, and let me. So you got two different things going on here. So if it's a kid, you have an inexperienced driver
mm,
that's just starting, and the risk factor is huge. So that's why when an inexperienced driver gets on a policy, 3 years, that policy, the premium is going to be high. And here's the thing: people think that it's just at 16, but if you haven't been licensed and you're waiting till 21 to get your license, 3 years, it's going to be an inexperienced driver.
yeah.
Same thing happens when you get older. Uh, the risk gets higher. They're looking to see if you've had any claims or accidents. And because the risk is getting higher, that premium is going to go up.
Another commonality with those of us in the senior category, I hate to say that, but that's where I am. But many of us want to stay in our home. Listen, I'm a realtor, and
Mhm.
my worth, I guess, is the value I bring to somebody if they're thinking about selling a home. But 80% of all of us over 60 really don't want to sell. We want to stay in the home. So,
Right.
if you retire, you mentioned earlier about doing a kind of reassessment of your policy. Um, how does that come into play with home ownership? Because, well, I'll let you fill in the gaps on that.
Okay. So so you have your home,
Mm,
and if you ever looked at a policy, it's amazing to me how many people never read their policy and they can't explain what each line means. So I'll give you a little lesson here. The first thing you're going to notice on your policy, obviously premium, but then you got to break down what makes up that premium. The majority, what makes it up primarily is the dwelling coverage A. And that means how much it would cost to rebuild your home in today's market with today's prices. So if you look at it and your dwelling coverage A, let's say it's $250,000, then if that policy hasn't been reevaluated every year, and the carriers will do this, they'll come back and say, now this property will cost uh 300,000 to rebuild. And people are going, wait a minute, why'd that go up? It's going up because the carrier is evaluating the market
mhm.
and how much it costs to rebuild the property. They're not putting in the cost of land. The dwelling coverage A never includes land. It's all about how much it costs to rebuild that property. If your policy, if it's 3 years old and you notice that has never gone up, you need to start questioning that, because that either means the carrier's not reevaluating it, or the agent, if it's with a one carrier, is not reevaluating it and paying attention to it.
I tell
Now
you
we
what,
can, yeah,
I
we
was
can.
gonna say since COVID,
Mhm.
if people have not reevaluated their policy, those
No.
costs have just
Oh,
skyrocketed.
yes,
I
and
know.
we see that, and so then we have to be the ones to go in and say, we're looking at your policy and we can see that you're underinsured.
Hmm.
And what happens is clients come back and think, oh, they're jacking us up. And one thing I can say about this office and Fogle, if we see something, we're going to let you know. If you don't want to go with us, or believe what we say, we want you to put it in writing and send it to us, because we're going to save it in your profile so that anything happens, we can go back and say, okay, we told you about this and this is
Hmm.
what you told us you wanted to do.
Yeah.
Because, yeah,
Bottom line is check your policies, especially with regard to the homeowners, because costs have gone up.
yes.
We all know that. We all know.
Yes, and let me tell you what will happen. If you find out, if you have, let's say you have a fire and you're thinking you're going to get the full replacement value to have that home built back, the 250,000, the adjuster comes in and says, I'm sorry, you were underinsured and you did not have it to the amount that that dwelling coverage A needed to be. You are not going to get the amount needed to rebuild.
Is there a story that you'd like to share, perhaps where you've helped a client and right saved them from disaster, or that was very compelling to you and kind of keeps you motivated in this business?
One of the big things that I see a lot and that people don't understand is the age of the roof. Agents should be asking, what is your roof age? And the reason they're asking you that is we want to know, when was the last time you had that roof replaced? And I know people get 30-year shingles, but carriers do not look, oh, it's been within 30 years. Their window is much shorter. It's either between 15 to 20 years. If it's today and I'm evaluating your home and I'm trying to find you a better premium, I had a client and the property, um, they did not have the roof updated. They got the roof updated this year. That property premium dropped $400 because they had a new roof put on.
Hmm.
Now, opposite happened. I had a client bought the house back in 2000, had not had the roof updated, did not want to have the roof updated. Two things happened. That premium was expensive, and instead of getting replacement cost, which means you get the actual replacement for what it would cost on that house, they got cash value, actual cash value. And that means you're getting the house redone at what it would cost in today's market minus depreciation. Not a good thing to have.
Not a good thing to have.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and other a couple other things, if I may. We're going to look and see if you have. There are a couple endorsements we always put on home policies that people say, I don't need that, but we have seen so many times that they need it. And one is called water backup and sump protection.
Yes.
What that does is, let's say you get up one morning, you go downstairs, your downstairs commode has flooded into your house. If you don't have that endorsement on your policy, that's not going to be covered to the extent that you think it needs to be. And because I will go in right away and I'll add that, I have three things I add automatically. That's one of them. The client comes back and tells me they don't want it. They have to send it to me in writing and I take it off. In Charlotte, there was an elderly woman. She Her line backed up from the city into her home. The city did not want to pay to get all that taken care of for her. I mean, her bottom floor was gross. I'm not going to get into detail, but you can imagine.
Yep.
Okay.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, and it definitely was coming from the city, the service line in the city. And it took her, she had to fight a battle to get it. And it was a big news story. We add that in there. We had the water backup and we had the service line because a couple months ago I had a lady, same thing. She came down, she saw the water all over the floor. It came from her commode. The first thing I did when she called me, I went in and checked. She had service line, she had water backup. That means we were doing our job. I called a mitigation service in there. Somebody you and I know, John Alexander, would stop restoration.
Yep.
Got there right away, got the problem taken care of, instructed her to contact the city as well because the plumber found that there was something going on with the connection between the home and the city, got them involved, and she was able to get her home taken care of.
I had a situation that just resonates with me, which is I often will I call myself a hands-on realtor in that I will go in and I will help my clients paint a room or put a chandelier up, or in this case, we were getting the house ready. We were under contract, moving towards closing, and I'm literally helping him clean his bathrooms.
Oh, wow.
And
I'd like to see that.
oh yeah. So I flushed the toilet upstairs and I heard this gurgling from downstairs. And I said, "Uh-oh." And things don't gurgle for no reason, you know. And so I went downstairs and checked that toilet. Sure enough, it was gurgling, and I knew immediately what the issue was. I knew what it was, and that was there were roots in his line going out to the street. So we verified that, and you don't want this at the 11th hour. You just don't.
No.
And the way you have to deal with that in a real estate situation, I mean, you're under contract. He could lose all the deposits, so you really got it. It's full transparency. I immediately called the other realtor and said, "Here's the situation. Here's what we're doing." And the good news is that insurance was the hero. It
Mm-hmm.
was covered under. He actually had a rider, I guess, to his policy for that type of damage. So we got it done, and they came out. The buyer came out, inspected it, and made sure it was done. You know, licensed plumber, and it's insurance saved the day.
Mm-hmm.
So
It does help. Sometimes it feels like a catch-22, but it does help in the long run.
hmm. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. All right. So one of the other things we hear about with everybody, frankly, is the prevalence of scams and frauds and so forth.
Oh,
I'm betting that you see your fair share under the auspices of insurance. Any warnings, things that you can leave the audience with or the listeners with in terms of watch out for? Don't do this.
the big one is when you have the roofing representatives come to your door and
Yes.
they say, knock on, they say, we're in the neighborhood working on so and so's roof down here because of the hailstorm. I just noticed that you have hail damage too. I can go up on your roof and I can look at it and we can see if you need to get something started. Don't say yes. Say, oh, okay, let me call my insurance agent. And what we're going to do is we will recommend a reputable roofer to come out and look at it. And then if you want to file a claim, then we'll start that process. But don't let somebody that you haven't called go up on your roof and do anything. Call us.
Oh, please. Yes. Call me, call you, call
Yes.
him. Just don't let the person who knocked on your door be the
Yeah,
decision
I
maker.
have to tell people that at least 3 or 4 times a week because they'll call in and say something, and I'll go, "Did this person come knocking through your neighborhood?" And they'll, most of the time, it's yes, they did. I have had couple of people who knew better, and they said, yeah, they did, but I told them I didn't want them up there, and we called. That's why I'm calling you, or we called a reputable roofer that we knew to come look at it.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
You and I both know some good people in the roofing business that we
Yes.
trust.
Yes.
And we've also encountered some that we would never, ever want to see again.
No,
Uh,
no.
yeah.
Yeah.
Please
That
call a professional that's related that has these contacts. That's the best advice. I share that 100%.
right, right. Other one I would say is if you get an email from a carrier, oh, we can lower your rates. Uh, and you haven't solicited for that information, then I would just double check it. I wouldn't call the number back. I would call somebody that represents that carrier in your area and see what they're talking about because that it's just a matter of being careful. I'll tell you this now, we even now on the home policies, we offer fraud protection and cyber protection because it's such a big deal. So
Excellent.
you can get that as a rider on your home insurance as well.
All right, here's another area that people often get flustered over, and that is just submitting a claim.
Oh,
The
yes.
hoops that they
That's
have to
funny you
jump
say
through.
that. I had to help a friend of mine this weekend. I mean, she's not one of our Fogle clients, but anybody who asked me a question. So her son got into his first accident. He was parked and somebody backed into him, and she was telling me about it. And I'm saying, did you get photos? Did you get the insurance information? Did you call the police and get a police report? Because we're going to ask you for those pieces of information. And don't admit you did anything wrong
Hmm.
is the big first thing. You don't admit anything. You can get their information. You can provide your information. You can tell, I would say, but that's one of the things we said. That's on the questionnaire that carriers will send us. But when you're filing and I said, well, did you call the claim in on his insurance? Because it's going to be not at fault for her son.
Hmm.
And she hadn't called in the claim to the other person's. I was like, what are you waiting for? Call in the claim now. So you
Even if it's somebody else's fault, call in the claim.
Yes,
Yeah.
and you have their call the claim in because
Hmm.
they could change their story. So many things can happen. You got to call right away. It doesn't, and if you have their number for their insurance, don't call the person, call it. Let me tell you what also happened this past week. Oh gosh, people are so nuts. Another client of ours their son was in an accident. He did all the information. The person that he was in the accident with showed up at their house,
Oh gosh.
taking a video and saying some, they weren't telling the truth, trying to get them caught. If a client I mean, not a client, if you're in an accident and that other person shows up at your door, do not answer any questions for them. Tell them to leave, call your agent.
That's bold. That is bold.
Yes, and
Oh my
that's a
gosh.
way to get hurt. I'm thinking, why would you do that?
All right. So if you had to give some last minute tips,
Yes.
what would they be
As far as
for
if you
insurance? You'd mentioned something about being a car having been paid off, or
Yeah, so if your car is paid off, people don't think about this, call you and you had a lien on it, call your agent, get them to take that lien holder off that car. Because if you're in an accident, the check is going to go to the lien holder. You won't get the check, and then it's hard to get all that worked out.
well,
And same thing, and then it will help reduce your premium. Same thing in a mortgage. If your mortgage is paid off, as soon as it's paid off, call that agent, get it removed. They may ask for some documentation to prove that, But as soon as you get the mortgage holder off of your policy for your home, the premium will drop. I want to point out something else real quick for auto. If your car's paid off and let's say it's a 2005, you can drop comp and collision. You don't have to carry it. You have to understand that you won't be able to repair that car or anything of that nature, but it will help drop your premium.
Hmm.
Okay. If you want to have a higher um, deductible, that will help on your home and on your vehicles to lower the premium. So, and the one last thing people don't often know about umbrellas. Umbrella policy is
Yeah.
going to protect you. Since now we're older, we have accumulated more funds, hopefully more assets, and that umbrella policy is going to protect you if you're involved in an accident or if someone comes to your house and um, gets injured. The umbrella policy goes over the top of the home and over the top of your car. And I can tell you a great example. Last year we had a client. Um, he was a senior client. He rear-ended the person in front of him in a drive-through line for a restaurant. Got confused, hit the gas instead of the brakes, rear-ended her. It exceeded the liability that he had on his auto. And if he hadn't have had an umbrella policy, once you exceed that liability, you have to pay out of pocket. And the best way to ensure that you don't do that, he got $1 million umbrella. And when it exceeded that maximum liability on
Hmm.
his auto, then it went into the umbrella to protect him. And he didn't have to sell off any property or anything like that. And that's a bad position to be in.
Well, that's good to know. Good to
Yeah. And
know.
umbrella policies aren't that expensive. They're most of the time 150 to $200 for the year. But I know it's hard to think about when you're on a fixed income.
You alluded to this earlier. We both did, and that is there are other companies that you work with in the
Hmm.
course of your day and your recommendations with clients. One might say that we are Rolodex rich.
Oh, yes.
Rolodex is a term that everybody who's listening to this knows what that means,
Yeah.
i.e., my contact list. But
Yes.
what are some of those companies that you typically will engage on behalf of our clients or your clients?
So I will, if we've had water damage in their homes, I'm looking at for mitigation companies that will go in and take care of the water damage for them because that's the important thing you want to do right away.
Mm.
And plumbers. So we recommend John Alexander with Stop Restoration. And then if you need roofing or something done to look at your roof, Steve Olms and
With Zurich's group, yes.
with Zurich's. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't remember that one. So we're looking at plumbers. We're looking at people who do drywall, floors. Flooring is a big thing. Auto shops. Anything to do with the home, we can recommend somebody that we work with.
Excellent.
And a
Excellent.
lot of times, some of those we work with are our clients in the commercial department. So we know them personally. We know their work. We see them out at networking events. We talk to them every week.
It's so important to have somebody that you can trust and who you don't
Yes,
know, but somebody else knows them. They've been vetted. There's the trust can be passed along, and they do a good job. Otherwise, we're not going to recommend them. It's as
right, right.
simple as that.
You are right.
What is the best way for a listener to get a hold of you?
Oh, they can go call me at 704-895-3060, which is the Fogle number. Look up Fogle Insurance Group. Call that number. They can get me. They can email me at kim.coleman@foglegroup.com. But if you remember the name Fogle Insurance Group, call me and say Kim Coleman in personal lines, not Kim Coon in commercial lines, because there's two Kims. And it happens all the time. We're saying, do you want Kim Coleman or do you want Kim Coon? And I'll get a call and they'll just start talking to me and they'll say, yeah, Kim, I need this for my business. And I say, well, let me get you to the right Kim.
Excellent,
So,
excellent. Well,
yeah.
Kim, thank you very much. This was very, very informative. It's something we, again, kind of put on the back platter. We don't really put a lot of attention to it, and we really should.
Right,
There's some ways to save money, ways to be on top of things so we avoid, bad situations again with
right,
coverage.
right.
All of that you've covered, and I appreciate that very,
Yeah.
very much.
And I do educational classes out in the community just because people need to be informed. And when you don't understand something, you need to find a professional that can explain it to you.
Excellent. Well done.
Mhm.
Kim, thank you very much. Have a
Thank you,
productive
Dave.
week in front of you, and look forward to seeing you shortly.
Yes, sir. You have a great day.
Take care. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Carolina Senior Talk podcast. We hope you found today's episode both informative and helpful. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. If you enjoyed today's show, please leave us a review and share it with those who might benefit from our advice. If you or anyone you know is looking to buy, sell, or relocate to the Carolinas, or you simply want to know how much equity you have in your home, be sure to contact me at www.carolinaseniortalk.com. Until next time, we wish you the best on your senior living journey in the Carolinas. Take care. Thank you for listening once again, and talk to you soon.